Today is April 14th, and this is the 2 p.m. session. Okay, so time is up. You may now begin your team discussions and come up with your team's answers. Once you are done, please inform me and I'll collect your answer sheet.
I kind of like put mine in time order to try to figure out like what happened. So I don't know if you guys have any like things that definitely point to an obvious answer in yours, but one of my clues was that Mr. Kelly's body was found at 1:30 a.m. and another one was that he had been dead for 1 hour when his body was found, according to a medical expert. So from mine, I think that we could probably guess that the murder was around 12:30.
Yeah, where's the, I have some, okay, yeah, Miss Smith said nobody left the apartment between 12:25 and 12:45. So nobody left
I
it.
have the elevator man went off duty at 12:30, as well as
Oh, wait,
he
yeah,
saw that the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go into Mrs. Scott's room at 12:25.
I saw the elevator operator reported to police that he saw Mr. Kelly at 12:15 a.m.
I have elevator man said Miss Smith was in the lobby when he went off duty. Then I have another one for elevator man.
A knife with Mr. Kelly's blood on it was found in Miss Smith's yard, and when he was discovered dead, Mr. Kelly had a bullet hole in his thigh and a knife wound in his back.
It says that the bullet from Mr. Kelly's thigh was owned by Mr. Jones, and the knife was owned by Mr. Smith.
I have only one bullet had been fired from Mr. Jones' gun, and when the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly leaving the building, Mr. Kelly was bleeding slightly but did not seem too badly hurt. So it would have been.
Yeah, I think Mr. Jones, it said Mr. Jones shot an intruder in his apartment building at midnight, and so I think that he was shot by Mr. Jones, but that's not what killed him, and I don't think that he was the murderer.
Mhm.
So,
I think.
It says that Mr. Jones had told Mr. Kelly that he was going to kill him. From one of my
Mr.
clues.
Jones told Mr. Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Mr. Kelly had destroyed Mr. Jones' business by stealing all his customers. When they tried to locate Mr. Jones after the murder, he
Do any of
disappeared.
you have anything about Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Yes.
I have the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly's wife go to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30.
I just have that the elevator operator said that Mr. Kelly's wife frequently left the building with Mr.
Yeah.
Scott.
Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were found in Mr. Scott's car.
Wait, you said Mr. Scott's wife was with who?
Mr. Kelly's wife was the guy who got
The guy that
murdered.
was shot.
His wife was with Mr. Scott at 11:30, and then
Because
he
I
got
had Mr.
killed at
Kelly's wife
11:30.
disappeared after the murder, and police were not able to locate Mr. Scott after the murder,
So they disappeared together.
most likely.
Do you want to definitely put, so I think the definite would, for the time would be like 12:30 and the weapon is definitely the knife.
Yeah.
And it seemed, I have that his body was found in the park, but the knife with his blood on it was found in Miss Smith's yard.
Well, yeah, and also have his blood was in Mr. Smith's car, so they killed him and then drove him to the park.
Yeah, it says that the condition of Mr. Kelly's body has been dragged for a long distance. Okay, so
Okay. Do you think, so then he could have either been killed in I guess he could have been killed in Miss Smith's yard, dragged to the car, and driven to the park?
What time did you say the elevator man went off duty?
12:30.
Okay, so Miss Smith was in the lobby at 12:30. Then what time was he killed?
12:30, so she wasn't in
Oh.
her yard.
But I
But
also
so-
had Miss Smith.
But Mr.
often
I'm
follows-
thinking that Mr. Scott and his wife killed him in
Yeah.
this woman's
So then,
yard.
if she was in the lobby at 12:30, then it would have had to be if the two of them were working together, it would have been Mr. Scott who had to actually murder him.
Yeah, I think it was probably Mr. Scott and Mr. Kelly's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Miss Smith had nothing to do with it, they just happened to do it in her yard. And she was in the elevator, like she was in the lobby, so she wasn't
Oh,
home.
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just got Miss Smith confused and Mr. Kelly's.
Yeah, the names are like similar.
Yeah.
So. Oh, so do we definitely think that the place of the murder would have been Miss Yard then, or do you think that they just put the knife there?
They might have just put the knife there just to get
You
rid
could
of
have just
it.
drawn the knife in the
Yeah.
yard. Yeah.
So, do you guys have any other ideas for where the murder could have been, based on yours?
If it says that, where is it? Here it is. It says that Mr. Kelly went to Mrs. Scott's room first
Okay.
at 12:25 a.m.
Mr. Kelly went to Mr. Scott's room?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, and I
So,
have Mr.
um,
Kelly's wife went to Mr. Scott's room at 12:30. I mean 11:30.
Mrs. Kelly went to Mrs. Scott's room.
Yeah, Mrs. Kelly went to Mr. Scott's
Maybe
room at
Mr.
11:30.
Kelly went to Mr. Scott's room when Mr. Scott tried to kill him with the knife, and then
Yeah.
he got away, and then at that point he ran to Mr.
Jones's apartment? Cause he was shot at midnight by Mr. Jones.
He
Oh.
was shot at midnight, like
Yeah.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock.
Then maybe he got shot by Mr. Jones first,
That's what I was
or
thinking.
maybe they
Yeah.
got into an argument.
Cause I got that he was shot in the thigh and the knife was in his back, so I would assume.
So maybe he went
Yeah,
to Mr.
shot in the thigh would be less lethal then.
Maybe he went to Mr. Scott's room trying to get help at 12:25 after.
And then he's found his wife, and
Oh my god, yeah.
yeah, so we must have went to his room after being shot, saw his wife there, cause he went in the elevator at 12. The elevator operator reported to police that he saw Mr. Kelly at 12:15.
And then
Okay.
he says that he saw
So-
him go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25. So Mr. Scott's room could have been like the closest possible room of like the neighbors that he knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He probably saw Mr. Scott with Mrs. Kelly, and then Mr. Scott probably killed Mr. Kelly.
Do you think they killed him in the apartment then?
I mean, if he went up there at 12:25 and then he was dead by 12:30,
Yeah, cause his body had been dead for an hour.
yeah, it wouldn't make much sense for them to have 5 minutes to run somewhere else.
So yeah, so maybe he was killed with the knife in the apartment.
Yeah.
They put the knife in the Smith's yard while she was in the lobby. And then dragged his body to the car and then drove him to the park.
So the place would be Scott's apartment. But for murderer, we don't know whether it was Mr. Scott or Mr. Kelly's wife.
Yeah.
Well, we have that Mr. Scott and Mrs. Kelly both disappeared. So
Yeah, so it could have, I don't know.
One of them could have done the murder, and then they're just like together now.
Well,
Yeah,
but
I'm assuming that they were having an affair because the elevator operator said that Mr. Kelly's wife frequently left the building with
Yeah.
him.
but we don't know what to write down for the murderer though, because there's a 50-50 chance.
So should we say that the motive though should definitely be that they were having an
Yeah.
affair?
Yeah. And
Why
also-
did Mr. Jones shoot Mr. Kelly?
Didn't you say he thought it was an intruder or something?
Right. Oh yeah, why did he intrude? Why did he break into his house?
That we did not get.
Mr.
He
Jones
said
shot an
Mr.
intruder
Jones
in his
said that he was
apartment.
gonna kill Mr. Kelly.
Okay.
So maybe Mr. Jones lied and said he saw an intruder in his house with the intention of shooting
That's
Mr.
true.
Kelly.
Well, yeah, because it says after when they tried to locate Mr. Jones, he had disappeared, so that's probably what happened.
I also have that Miss Smith often followed Mr. Kelly. I don't know if that would do anything.
Like just followed him?
Yeah, it just says often followed Mr. Kelly. So she kind of stalked him.
I only have 2 things about Miss Smith.
I only have that the knife was found in her yard.
Yeah, I only have that the knife was found in her yard with Mr. Oh wait, no, Mr. Scott has the fingerprints on the knife.
Oh, then
So then,
Scott would be.
So then, okay. Is everybody satisfied?
With
Yeah.
that.
I think we're.
Okay.